Hello everyone, my name is Rochelle Innocent and I'm the founder and CEO of Project Purpose. Welcome to our channel. Our community is focused on fostering the intellectual and character development in children. We do this through our parent-child workshops that are focused on 4 themes: autonomy, self-efficacy, compassion, and self-concept, in order to cultivate grit, perseverance, and resilience in each child. At Project Purpose, our overarching mandate is to renew and rebuild family, community, and relationships. Our different social media platforms provide us with an opportunity to have discussions on all topics that relate to family, community, and relationships, with ourselves as well as with others, with a primary focus on mental health and education. More precisely, the ways that the institutions of mental health and education play a role and have played a role in our societies at large. These discussions and debates provide us with an opportunity to think critically about what needs to change within these structures for us to live up to our bold slogan: support, protect, and empower each child through youth-focused development, better known as leadership in juvenescence. We recognize that in valuing our children's leadership potential, this also translates as recreating and co-creating environments, both socially and politically, that will enable our children to thrive. For those of you who are particularly keen on the topic, we also write thought pieces every other Sunday, and we actually have a thought piece scheduled to drop this upcoming Sunday. So definitely be sure to meander over to the website and check out our online content. Now, if it is the case that you are looking for a listening alternative, well, we're available on 12 different podcast platforms for your listening leisure, and we've provided you with access to the links in the description down below. Now, as is the convention, be sure to subscribe, hit that post notification bell so that you are aware of every time we post. And of course, if you like these conversations and you want to keep them going, like, comment, and share this segment. Let's get into it. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another segment here on Project Purpose. For those of you who are new, we cover topics that relate to mental health, mental wellness, and education on a week-by-week basis. And today our topic of discussion is going to be mental health. And on the conversation of mental health, we're going to have a cavalier conversation on the obligation to fill in the blank. I want to take this opportunity to discuss our sense of obligation and all of the ways that that translates in our lives, whether that's in our personal lives or in our professional lives. We need to be a lot more mindful when we categorize communications or expectations as obligations. And I want to have a conversation about that because I do think that it does have an impact to our mental health if we allow too many things to fall within the category of obligatory by way of the expectations people set on us. And I think that it's important to realign, to make a point, to make the corrections and revisions where necessary when the expectation is absolutely one of consideration and not one of obligation. And some people might think that this is a game of semantics, but it's not, because a lot of the times the way that we communicate with others, the way that we communicate our intentions, it impacts our behaviors, because we want to align our behaviors with the words that we use, with the language that we incorporate in our communications with others. And sometimes we stretch ourselves thin because we're being too cavalier, too casual, too flexible in the language that we use about topics and themes that are fairly serious. So I wanted to have this conversation around obligation. And I think my point of view that I want to share by way of obligation and our sense of obligation, that it's important to take an inventory of all the things that we feel obligated to. And when I say obligated to respond to, obligated to react to, obligated to align ourselves or bend ourselves to become flexible to. We need to take stock of that and recognize at what point is our breaking point. At what point do we recognize that satisfying this obligation is actually to our own detriment? And I think that it's important that we prioritize the things that we feel obligated to, recognizing that every obligation that is not life-threatening is simply consideration. And I think this is an important thing to think about, because when we think obligation, we do everything within our power to make that come to fruition. And I think sometimes there are certain things that want us to sort of align our energy where we're putting everything toward that endeavor, but when we think about it, that doesn't actually serve us. So I want to really develop the muscle, the critical thinking, by way of how we navigate the conversations around obligation, how we navigate those communications that put it out there in the ether that they want us to feel the sense of obligation, and then we can make a choice, right? So it's fine for someone to want to cultivate a sense of obligation, to desire, to request, but it's for us to choose, right? And I think that any response to anyone's desire for us to feel obligated to a specific outcome or expectation or behavioral manifestation, even as thinking about it, is a consideration. And I think that we need to really just build a little bit more structure around the ways that we define and behave in alignment with obligation, and define and behave in alignment with consideration. And I think for me, I've learned that there's a lot of people out there in the world who would like to create this sense of obligation, which later then creates this sense of urgency that makes me feel like a hamster in a wheel. Like, I'm trying to satisfy this obligation, that obligation. At the thick of it, and at the end of the day, they're really me even appreciating or considering or giving that sort of expectation, any mental space is about consideration. And I can adjust the amount of consideration that I extend to the world around me by way of their expectations in alignment with what serves me best. That's the message that I'm trying to have deliver here, is that when you think about the things that you are obligated to, you recognize that your response to those obligations is simply you exercising consideration. And if at any point in time you feel that you're providing consideration to that given context or to those people or to that relationship or to that is hurting you, then you can retract that consideration in alignment with what serves you best. And I think too often we take these areas that frame themselves as obligations and we treat them as such, and we bend ourselves and break ourselves to satisfy those obligations, not recognizing that we have always within our power to retract, to adjust, and to be flexible. And it's important to exercise that right, those natural rights, in the face of constructed obligations, so things communicated as obligation but actually aren't that way. When we realize that we need to adjust and get a better sense of our alignment, of our energy allocation, of all the areas that our energy needs to be, so that we're serving our best selves in the way that we're navigating and interacting with the relationships around us. And I think the people who value us over and above the expectations and obligations they put on us will appreciate the effort, even if that effort needs to be adjusted from time to time for us to protect, maintain, and sustain our mental health. So that was a conversation I wanted to have today, to give you the thought, to be more nuanced in what it is you allow yourselves to feel obligated to. Take maybe half of the things you feel obligated to right now and move them into the bucket of consideration and adjust as is needed, because our mental health requires that nimbleness, that agility, that adaptivity, and of course that conscientiousness. I think we need to become a lot more conscientious of why people put different expectations of us and of when we can adjust those expectations in alignment with our best selves. In any case, that is it for today, but definitely not all. Now, before letting you go, I would be remiss if I didn't let you know that we will be going live at least twice a month, every month for the foreseeable future on our Facebook page, so definitely be sure to join in. Now, these events are paid events, so if you do see yourself participating in our community on an ongoing basis, then I do suggest that you take a look at one of our package plans. Yeah, so we do offer package plans over and above our live events, and that gives you the opportunity to cultivate self-mastery in order to derive more meaning and fulfillment out of life. So we're very excited to be offering all of these services and products to you. Definitely lots of growth and development, so definitely be sure to join us on all of our social media platforms. We are growing. We are excited that we are cultivating this game changer community by focusing on the changes that need to happen inward that will ripple, of course, outward. So definitely join the movement. We're super thrilled at what's coming down the pipeline, and if you're concerned about the pricing, please don't be. We've incorporated a new payment solution, Afterpay, that allows you to make payments in 4 installments over a period of 6 weeks. And all of that to say, join us on our journey to 1K, and we look forward to chatting with all of you very soon. We'll talk to you later. Feel like no one's listening. Some days I just